Cura of Kildare. It's funny, Kev. I sent the podcast on episode 1 last week to my mum, and the first thing she says back to me, typical Irish mammy, do you have permission to use that intro song?
Well, I can confirm, Brian, we do. Thankfully, I was chatting to Vicky Cahill, who was a member of the very famous and legendary Atlantis group, who obviously recorded that version of Cura Kildare. And I was chatting to her back in early April, and she said she gives a thumbs up to use it. So fair play. And to be fair, like for a Lillies Livin podcast, for Kildare GA podcast, there's no other song we could use. Like it had to be that version of Cura Kildare.
Welcome to episode 2 of Lillies Livin. It's Brian Mack here with Kevin O'Neill. Kev, how are we doing? You were playing a bit of football this afternoon. You were back racing the 15-a-side pitch.
Yeah, it's good to be back, Brian. It's been a while. I forgot to factor 50 today now, so I got rightly roasted, and we suffered a crushing 6-point loss to our town rivals, Colliery, obviously playing for St. John's myself. So pre-season league, we won't look too much into it. We'll go again back to the drawing board, and sure, as we said earlier to the lads, we don't want to peak too early either now. But that was my Sunday. How's the week going for yourself?
Me, I haven't been out on the pitch now. I've been doing a bit of admin work behind the scenes. I got a new microphone here, so hopefully the audio is a bit improved on our episode 1. And then I saw you put up a clip of our interview last week with Leper Callahan onto our Instagram page, and you had the video of us. And I thought that the background was quite bland for me, so I thought it would be a good idea if I could purchase something to spruce up the background. So I went online to Google during the week, and I searched Kildare poster. So I saw this lovely poster. It looked huge on the computer screen in front of me. And it's a lovely picture. It's of 6 different Kildare jerseys. So going back, it has 2 sponsored by Brady Family Ham, 2 by Tegral, 1 by Pitman Moore, and then 1 just really classy O'Neill jersey without the sponsor. So I wanted that framed behind me. I thought it would be a huge poster. €20 it cost me. Delivered the very next day. So I was delighted until it came in the post. Look at the size of the thing. It is absolutely tiny. It's like one of those old pictures that like your parents would show you from the photo album that you'd go through. If I put that up on the wall behind me now, I wouldn't even be able to see it myself, and I'm 6 feet, but 6 feet in front of it. Never mind seeing it through a webcam. But these are the pitfalls of a male doing online shopping, I suppose.
You got done in there. I'd be looking for my money back there now if I were you.
Yeah. We'll move on. I want to thank everyone for getting in touch on our Twitter page at Lillies Livin Pod and on our Instagram page at Lillies Livin. We got tons of feedback. Tom Noon was in touch, Kev.
The legend himself.
The absolute legend, teacher, of course, in ACBS. He said, great stuff, lads, on the first pod. And he said, Brian, you never mentioned that you won a Leinster school title yourself. Well, Tom, of course, was part of the backroom staff himself, and Damien Stevens. Yeah, he led us to Leinster glory. I was number 16 on the panel, the first name on the substitutes list. And we bet Ard School Reach in a Leinster final before we lost to Templemore in the All-Ireland semi-final. Who was it? Liam Power was in the goals. We had a great team. We had Liam Power in goals. He went on to play for Kildare. We had Owen Bateman in the middle of the park with Rory McDermott. Batman went on to play for Kildare. I'm not sure if Rory did. We had David Bootman in full forward. He was went on to play for Wicklow, Garden County. He was our forward. Nooners, that's what the tactics was. Nooners would just shout, "Get the ball to Boots, kick the ball to Boots," and it worked. He kicked us. We had other forwards as well: David Watson, John O'Brien, Adam Fitz was there, of course. But yeah, I was sub keeper. I was shameless as well. I remember when the final whistle would blow, and I'd jump onto the ground and get my knees dirty for for any pictures that could be in any of the local papers in the following weeks. But yeah, that's my only GAA honor, GAA football honor. Anyway, I've no other medals despite playing for 3 clubs. We might get into that another time. Do you have any honors yourself, Kev? You weren't part of that team.
I wasn't. No, I was an undiscovered gem at that time in my career. I was only coming into blossoming on the football pitch. But no, unfortunately, not really any medals from my my time involved in GAA on the island of Ireland. I will say I managed to get on a Nordic GAA championship winning team in 2021 over in Stockholm. Obviously a very prolific championship over there, just behind the Leinster championship, I think some people say. But we would have toppled our big rivals Luleå and Gävle. I'm sure you're very familiar with them clubs by now. The 2 most, I believe they're the 2 most northernmost GAA clubs in the world. So big feat beating the lads up there. But yeah, we won that in October. And obviously I'm involved with St. John's now, so I'm hoping to make it 2 from 2, 2021 and now 2022. So we'll see how we go. Feeling confident.
There we are, a geography lesson from our Nordic expert Kev O'Neill, and Champions of Sweden. You'll never sing that. We can go around singing that around around the county grounds.
I think it's a great ring to it.
It does. It does indeed. It does indeed. Looking ahead to next weekend, Kildare Louth has been confirmed. Louth bet Carlow well over the weekend. And I just see here on the unofficial Kildare fans page on Twitter that it's been fixed for 1 o'clock in Tullamore next Sunday. I don't think anyone, or it's a surprise really that it is going to be Louth. You looking forward to the game?
Absolutely, yeah. It's proper championship feel now. The weather is deadly all this weekend, so hopefully it maintains next weekend as well. And we'll get into it more in the pod later. But I would be slightly wary of that Louth team now. They're absolutely flying it, coming from a big win, Division 3, and it was pretty much a demolition job against Carlow today. No disrespect to Carlow. So they'll become kind of riding on the crest of a wave. And obviously our last game was that Division 2 relegation to Division 2 against Mayo. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, more to come later on that.
Yeah, Louth have definitely caught us on the hop a few times over the past 10 years or so in Championship. We've had lots of more messages of support as well, so do keep them coming in as well at Lillies Livin Pod on Twitter and at Lillies Livin on Instagram. But now we'll get on to our guest. He's a 2-time All-Star nominee. He was the 2010 GPA All-Star centre back. Arguably, I would say, one of Kildare's finest ever wing backs. He's currently part of the Kildare under-20 backroom team. A great win they had against Offaly in the Leinster semi-final during the week. It's the Eadestown man, Emmet Bolton.
Into Emmet Bolton. Tricky angle. He does well. He does superbly.
Emmet, thanks a million for joining us. We have a good bit to talk about. I want to sort of briefly start with Eadestown though, because I was talking to Adam Fitz during the week and I was shocked. He told me that the intermediate final that you won against Round Towers was in 2014. I was at that game. I could have sworn it was only 2017 or 2018, but it's 8 years ago now. To still be in the senior division is some going for a parish of Eadestown size. It was a tough intermediate final. Can you remember much about it? You had a tough run. I think it was Kilcock in the semi-finals before Round Towers in the final.
Yeah, I think probably with the intermediate championship in general in Kildare, there's, at the start of every year, there's probably 8 or 9 teams that have a chance of winning it or think they can win it. So I suppose at the start of that year, we weren't really in that position. We hadn't really performed in the previous championships. We had got to just relegation finals into intermediate in a couple of years previous to that. We nearly went junior, maybe 3 or 4 years before that. We bet Grange in a relegation intermediate playoff final, actually down in Two Mile House. So we kind of weren't really on the radar, and it wasn't really on our radar to win an intermediate championship that year. Desi Brennan had come in with us, and I think I can't remember if it was his first or second year, but she's from St. Joseph's down in Laois. We was living around Cool and knew a couple of guys in the parish, and so it wasn't really on the radar. I can't really remember who we played initially, but we played Rotangan over in Hawkfield, and got well bet by them. And I remember standing in the middle of the pitch with Barry Lawler, an Eastown stalwart. He's probably played with Eastown for the last 25, 30 years. And we literally stood there after the game saying, where are we going? We didn't know, to be honest with you. So we kind of just said, look, we may just try and regroup. We didn't want to be in another relegation battle. And so we all just got together, stuck the head down. There was no magic secret formula. We just worked hard. Desi has a great knack of really have you fit, number one. He's not old school. He is to a degree, actually, but he's very up to date in his modern methods. Does a lot of reading, would have a lot of experience with teams in the majority of counties. Won a couple of championships with Moorfield, has managed down in St. Joseph's as well. So, he's no daw. He has plenty of experience there, and we just worked hard effectively and had good players that hit form at the right time. Bet Suncroft, bet Eadestown, and came to a semi-final then against Kilcock that we were huge underdogs going into, and just managed, I think we were 4 or 5 points down with about 10 minutes to go, and managed to just claw it back, and an outrageous point from the sideline from Robbie Smith to win the game with effectively the last kick of the game, and then into a championship final, which we hadn't been in since 2001. we'd been in 2 championship finals in a row, 2000 and 2001, played Selvage and Rotangnan and lost them both, which was obviously huge for the parish at the time, because we hadn't been in one since 96, which we won after replay to Kevin. So to get to a championship final was massive. And then again, you're going in as massive underdogs to Towers, you know, huge club, been in many a senior final, senior club, huge pick, you know, and along come Eadestown that came from absolutely nowhere that year, and we just played extremely well. You know, Keane was our main target man. I think we scored 112 that day, and he scored something like 10 points out of 112 between frees and from play, and just had a really good balance across the team. Loads of young lads that were just had loads of pace, real good footballers, and then we mixed it with a bit of experience with the likes of Barry Lawler and Pat O'Sullivan and Eddie Conroy and a couple of others. Eadestown would generally have a couple of guys that we would get maybe from Naas, or maybe guys that would come from Galway or Cork, or that would be teaching in the parish. And we had a guy from Cork there. He played wing forward. He played really well on the day, and just 1 or 2 guys had exceptional games that day. And I think Towers had 1 or 2 injuries, but we just played really well and fully deserved to win on the day. So look, huge for the parish. But whatever it is, 96 to 2014, whatever that is, 20 years previous, we'd won an intermediate championship. So it was huge for the club and for the younger generation coming through, and everybody that was involved in development and everything that goes with it as well. Because the ladies had won an All-Ireland a couple of years before that in 2007 or something. So we were underachieving a good bit with a good enough panel. So to win that was absolutely massive. It's huge. Biggest day in my career anyway, for sure.
Yeah, I remember Keane Bolton, your brother, that day. He had some incredible scores out from the sideline, and I suppose you say you were underdogs going in, but it was certainly no fluke, because you have definitely held your own in the senior championship since that win in 2014. You've had a couple of quarter-final appearances. There's one game that I do want to talk about though, which was a relegation semi-final win you had against Maynooth. I think it was in 2 or 3 years ago now, and it went into a penalty shootout, a 7-6 win. There's not many penalty shootouts in GA football. Can you remember much about that game, or even the penalty shootout in particular? I doubt it's like soccer where you can sort of prepare in training and practice penalties before a cup game, and who's going to take the penalties, have it lined up.
Yeah, we'd kind of been unlucky with injuries that year as well. And as you said, it held their own for the previous number of years. We've been in a couple of relegation battles again up to that point. And, you know, we actually had got to the quarter final the year before, and this year, I think it was 2 years ago, was it? Just 2 years ago, yeah.
2020.
Yeah. Just again had a couple of injuries, got a really bad start. I think they got 2 goals. Might have been Colin McCabe actually who got to 2 goals. So we were chasing the game for a long period, and then eventually kind of overtook them with maybe about 10 minutes to go. And they got another sucker punch of a goal, and we went down by 2 with about a minute to go. We all drove forward, took risks, committed. I think we got a point from play, and then I think Keane kicked a free to level it. Went extra time. Can't really remember what happened in extra time. Obviously just score for score, whatever it was. And then obviously went to the penalty shootout. And look, to be fair to lads, I have never had experience in that. I've taken a penalty underage, but never at senior level with Eadestown, because you have the likes of Keane and basically I'm not a forward, so forwards generally take it. But lads just stuck the hand up. You know, lads there, 19, 20 years of age, just, I'll take one, no problem. Eddie Conroy then, you know, our captain in 2014, had come on as a sub, I think. I can't remember, he came on as a sub, 37, 38 years of age. Yeah, I'll take one, no problem. And he ended up kicking the winning penalty, but keeper took one as well, Mikey Quinn. But it was so nerve-wracking, because you just have no control, and you're just relying on other lads to do the business for you. But really well executed penalties, to be fair to the lads. Stood up, had the bottle to do it. You have to admire a lad for doing that after 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes of hard championship relegation football, and to score the penalties they did was absolutely huge, because, you know, you go into a relegation final after that and you're so deflated after losing the penalty shootout the next week. You know, it really got us out of jail. So, you know, fair play to the lads for doing that. It was a big call and ballsy calls to do and stand up and show real character. And we've plenty of them in the club as well, you know, on the team at the minute. And, you know, they really pulled it out of the bag for us on the day.
Yeah, you talk about your team at the minute. I want to look sort of at what's going on at the moment. Is there is there a Division 1 league team as well? And I'm aware you do have a couple of injuries at the moment. I was talking to Adam Fitz during the week. He was telling me that he's just struggling a bit. You have a draw and 3 defeats in the open 4 games in the league. There's a long way to go. Do you fancy your chances? Can you get out of the relegation zone?
Look, I suppose it's the first year in 22 years that we've been up in Division 1. We've always kind of been floating around Division 3, Division 2 for the majority of it. So to get up there is obviously huge for the club. It's huge for the young lads. There's a huge influx of younger players there at the minute that probably would have got to an A minor semi-final about 4 or 5 years ago. So they're kind of coming through now at the minute. But as you said, there's just plenty of injuries, but just hasn't started great, I suppose, in terms of results. But we've been extremely competitive in games. You know, I think the most that we've lost by was 6 points yesterday, but 5 points previous to that. Drew at Lawrence's, lost to Castletown by 2. You know, so we've been unlucky in games, but have been really, really competitive. And as you said, like, we're losing Jack Sargent and Pádraig Tui to Clare Seniors at the minute, and we have Ryan Boran and Conan Boran with Clare Hurlers. So, you know, 4 lads. Losing 4 lads with our team, with a small pick with Eadestown, is effectively the likes of Selbridge, Moorfield and Sarcy losing 12 lads. You know, it's very hard for us we don't have a huge influx of players. We'd have max maybe 20, 22, 23 players down at training on a good night. And that varies with guys away from college. So it's great experience for lads. They're getting better every game, even though we are losing. We're getting 1 or 2 lads back from injury, which is great, which, you know, you're not shifting lads around to try and play in different positions. They're getting back to the normal positions that we play. And they're getting huge experience from it. You know, you're ultimately going to be playing these teams again in the championship at the end of the year. So for younger guys to experience that is huge. And there's maybe 3 or 4 guys that have come up from minor that have been part of maybe the NACBS team as well. You know, one lad made his debut there yesterday, Dara Jemison, which was huge. For him, you know, 18 years of age, only doing his Livin for this year. So for him to get a debut as well and to have an influx of players like that, it's huge. So ultimately, I suppose it is a results business, but at a club the size of Eadestown, you're trying to bring players through, younger guys through. Adam's brother was this is his first year playing as well. Ben Fitzsimons, he was on the Clare Minors a couple of years ago and had under 20 tries this year as well. So to get those guys game time it is massive. And then it's just a matter of the older lads trying to bring them through and trying to get results then to ultimately stay up. You know, I suppose the thing. But look, we're getting better with every game. We're getting lads back. So it's positive.
Yeah, definitely fair to say you've been sort of punching above your weight for the past couple of years with your small population. What's in the water out in Eadestown? Because there are some serious names in sport. We've yourself obviously played for Kildare, your brother Keane, he captained the Kildare Juniors. We've Pádraig and Jack, who you mentioned, are called up to the Kildare senior panel recently. Grace Clifford is captain of the ladies team. And then we've the rugby lads. We've Rowan Osborne, Jimmy O'Brien, Tyke Byrne, Dermot Kilgallen. Like, there's a serious list of elite sports people there. It's a very rich sporting community, Eadestown, isn't it?
It is, and there's plenty of sport there. You know, you have horse racing as well. You have obviously rugby, and you have the GA. I think soccer doesn't play too big a part out there, but it's just the community spirit. You know, you go from your primary school, you know, you're representing Rathmore National School. Everybody did it that you mentioned previous there. They go on to play with their club then at Eadestown. I didn't play with Eadestown probably until I was 12 years of age, because there was no underage, no development, nothing like that. And then over the last maybe 20 years, they've started bringing in the under 6s, under 8s, under nurseries, you know, all the way up. We used to have to amalgamate underage. We don't do that anymore. We're able to field our own teams now. So a lot of work has gone on underage with the development of players in terms of their skill sets, their basic skills. I know that might sound, you know, as simple as it comes, but that's what's needed at that age group, you know, from all your under 6s up to your minor. Just develop guys' skills, develop their attitude, their mental toughness, to bring them forward into a senior team. And then with the rugby, you know, them guys are just freaks. You know, they would have played obviously with Eadestown, but you know, you have Nice Rugby Club there who are doing really well at the minute, and they have a really good structure there with everything that they're doing. You know, I know even from an underage point of view with them, they would have say 90 kids at maybe under 15s, but they don't do an A, B, and a C team. You know, your 15, 20 best players, your next best players on your B team, and your effectively your worst players on your team. They mix them all, so everybody gets game time. You have 3 equal teams, and that's obviously paid them good fruition going forward for them. You know, that they have those guys that are playing competitive rugby all the time at a high level. And a lot of them will go to Newbridge College as well. And then ACBS obviously started producing good rugby teams over a couple of years ago as well. So it's just the guys that are volunteer, they put in the time behind the scenes and have, really developed the younger guys coming through. So it's great. It's fabulous parish and fabulous community spirit as well that goes with it, It's great to go down there on a Saturday morning or Friday night to see 60 kids there training away. Brilliant. Never had that, So it's great to see.
Yeah, I was actually brought into the community spirit one year. I helped out for Oliver Plunkett's one year. I'm a 3-club man, but I did play under Mary Fitzsimons and Paul Woods for a campaign at minor level. So I do know all about it. All right, yeah, it's an incredible sporting community.
Just to touch on the Kildare stuff, then, Emmet. We might go back to the very start. I was trying to do a bit of research there during the week. Obviously, in that team of 07. Probably wasn't, we'll say, the pinnacle of Kildare football in terms of, what we were achieving on the pitch, but there was a lot of big names involved in that panel. Like obviously Rolly Sweeney would have been there, Johnny Doyle, I think Anthony Rainbow was still there at the time. Was there anyone before you joined that kind of senior panel that you looked up to as a player and just couldn't really wait to get playing with them?
It's those names effectively, yeah. Like you look at Durr and Dermot Earley and Anthony Rainbow and Johnny and Rowley, obviously, and then I would have played a bit of underage with James Cavan and Mikey Conway, Eamon Callahan, Brian Flanagan, Hughie Lynch, lads like that probably had been exposed to the senior team maybe a year or two previous to me. So you would have known them going into it, I suppose. There's a couple of lads in the under 21s that year I would have played with that had got called up as well. So, looking at the likes of Johnny and Durr and Anthony and Rowley, just from the outside looking in, not knowing them, just real leaders and real good footballers, and the face of Kildare football, I suppose. To be able to, I suppose when you get a call to say, will you come in and train with the senior panel, to be able to get exposure to them and try and learn from them was really, really exciting. Then when you go in and meet them, they're just salt of the earth, genuine, good crack, but their will to win is something that I have never experienced before. I don't know what it's like in other counties, but they're just born and bred Kildare men, and they would die for, and it's cliche, but they would just die for Kildare football. And to learn from that, the first year that you're in there, came over, put an arm around you, told you what Kildare football was about, what it stood for, what was expected of you. You wouldn't get better than that, I suppose, in terms of guys that you look up to.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to see the lads are back involved, obviously, in the management setup at the minute. So great to hear that kind of description of them. If we could fast forward a little bit now onto 2012, as I kind of want to take that in focus. Obviously, in that famous McGeaney era, unfortunately, the elusive Leinster title never came, despite some unlucky performances and things that didn't necessarily go for us. But there was one Division 2 win in 2012. So, obviously, it might not have been the exact kind of silverware you guys wanted at the time, but kind of how big was it to actually get that trophy with, in a Kildare jersey in Croke Park? Do you look back at that win with kind of fond memories?
I suppose you do, in a way. We had gone to Portugal about a week before. I think we were home maybe 5 or 6 days before that league final. We'd gone to Portugal for, I think it was about 10 days on a training camp, pre-championship training camp. So we were obviously working on, whatever we were working on for championship set plays and game plan and different type of things like that. So we were coming back, I suppose refreshed from that after working hard on that. And I suppose it was silverware. We hadn't won silverware previous to that, but I suppose effectively it was just another game before the championship. So to win it was obviously great. It was great to see the likes of Johnny Doyle going up and accepting the cup when he had put in so much work previous to that. I think he hadn't won anything since 2000. I think was when they won the Leinster final. So look, it was great. It was brilliant to get a bit of silverware, but ultimately we were in preparation mode for the championship. So. And that's not writing it off, and that's not saying it didn't matter, but it was brilliant to win a bit of silverware with the lads for the effort that we'd put in previous, from Kieran since 2009. So, look, it was great, but ultimately it was just another game before championship.
If you could touch on that kind of pre-season camp in Portugal, obviously, Kieran McGeaney is known for how hard he makes teams train, the conditioning and stuff. Would that have been like a tough trip, or would you look at that as kind of a bonding trip, or how do you look back on that trip to Portugal, or was there a couple of trips like it as well?
That's a bit of everything, I suppose. We had fundraised, I suppose there was a preconception out there whether how it was picked up, I don't know, but there was a preconception out there that, you know, Kieran and his management team and the players, I suppose, being blunt, bled the county board dry, which was as far away from the truth as possible. Everything that we did, everywhere we went, we fundraised it ourselves. I remember he sat down in the first meeting we had, or the second meeting he had with us, when he first arrived, and said, I want every player to fundraise $3,000. So we all got $3,000, came away with the guts of $100,000 and built a gym. So we had $100,000, well, not $100,000, about $90,000 worth of gym equipment. Didn't cost the county board a penny. Everything we did after that was fundraised ourselves, you know, between white collar boxing nights, whatever it was. All the money that we fundraised went into the team. We didn't ask for a penny effectively from the county board. That trip to Portugal, at the time, we used to get expenses from the GPA and the GAA, I think, and I can't effectively, maybe it came to maybe $2,000 depending on where you lived in the county. Again, we gave that up, put that into a kitty, and we paid for that trip ourselves. So at that stage of the year when that camp it was more just kind of fine-tuning for championship. But, you know, I suppose we've gone to the Marriott in previous years. Again, generally camps are kind of towards the end of the league, coming into championship. And we would have it's more fine-tuning. You might do a small maybe fitness block, but that stuff would have been done all in pre-season, where we would have went to the Curragh, we would have went up the hills, down the hills, up Braveheart Hill. There's hills across from Braveheart Hill. I don't know if you know them. We would have ran that in the snow. We would have done everything. But generally, a lot of it was just for your mental toughness, and you know, really did work. You know, so the pre-season stuff was tough. It was really tough, but it really galvanised us as a group. If he was leading us in the wrong direction, we were following him no matter where we were going. And I think ultimately, I suppose he was treated fairly unfairly towards the end of it, but that's a different story.
White collar boxing was one of your fundraisers. If you could, did you take part? And if you didn't, you could pick one player from your squads that you'd like to take on in a white collar boxing event.
No comment.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
No comment. No, I did it twice. Yeah, I did it twice. Yeah, did it twice. Great crack. Jesus, you get to
2-0.
Punch a lad in the face. Yeah, get to punch a lad in the face. No, it was Ronan Sweeney and Andrew McLaughlin.
Oh,
tough opposition, I'd say.
Yeah. Rolly had the reach on me, and Mac is just a bit smaller than me. So, but no, look, great crack. Jesus, great nights out after it. And look, ultimately, you know, you're playing however long you're playing. We didn't win much silverware, but Jesus, the memories and the friends you make along the way, when you look back on it when you retire and you sit back, and I suppose you can have no regrets with the effort you put in. You have a few regrets that you didn't win, whatever, you know, an All-Ireland or Leinster, we were close, but, you know, you walk by the street there and you mightn't get on with everybody, but you can nod to a lad there and say, Jesus, we gave it everything we had, and there's the mutual respect there, and it's brilliant. It's great. And
are the squad now doing that same sort of fundraising as you guys did?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Well, I think obviously they're doing that the 100 kilometers for yeah, and that type of stuff as well. So probably lacking a bit of that stuff over the last number of years, you know, because that stuff, it all adds up with a few quid, you know, like you get a certain percentage or you get a certain few quid from the county board. But I suppose to compete at the highest level, whether it's nutrition, whether it's going on training camps, whether it's, you know, bringing in a sports psychologist there for 2 or 3 sessions at whatever price it is, that mightn't be in your budget. So all of that stuff does add up. Whatever it is, buses, you know, extras here and there that you might need, you know. So there is a need for it, all right. But I think, look, now it's great now that Glenn and the 3 lads are involved, because I think that there's a buzz back now. It's been lacking probably over the last number of years. I don't know what you think, but it's been lacking over the last number of years where people just weren't excited about the team, I don't think, and which was really disappointing. And obviously results played their part in that as well. But I just think you have 4 guys involved there that you cut them all in half, they bleed white. They're there for the right reasons. They want the right guys involved. They want what's best for Kildare football. They want to create an identity for Kildare football, not just for the senior team, for the 20s, for the minors, for the 16s, 15s, 14s. They want kids to look at the senior team, at all teams in white, and their goal is to play with Kildare and to bring that buzz back and to bring that pride in the jersey back. The pride when you go back to your club, you're representing Kildare. You apply the same principles and the same culture and the same values that you bring to Kildare. You bring that back to your club, and hopefully that filters down throughout the whole county. And it's brilliant. It's great to see. And ultimately, they've got relegated, which is disappointing. I know they won't be happy with that, but they're in their first year. They're doing the right things. They're trying to do the right things, and I hope people give them time. I think they will give them time, because they're going in the right direction. And I think the lads will follow them. And I know from speaking to some of the under 20s and that, when the time comes, they're really looking forward to getting into a senior panel as well. So it's really good there at the minute. Going over to Hawkfield, you see the seniors, the 20s and the minors training beside each other. I know looking over that the seniors, if they're doing runs, they're hitting the line, and coming back, because they have to set an example for us. If we're doing runs, we're hitting the line. Minors are looking at us, and the same for the minors. So it's a good place to be over there at the minute. It's great.
That's excellent. It's great to hear. It definitely leads to a lot of excitement, and I think I definitely agree with you about the excitement and the hype that's kind of around this current team. It's kind of why myself and Brian even started this podcast, Emmet, to be honest with you. We're just totally mad about Kildare football at the minute, and I think it's an easy thing to kind of get behind because of the four-man management team that's in place. And before we kind of chat about the Leinster Championship that's coming up ahead, we definitely want to get your thoughts on that. I'd like to chat a little bit about your own kind of playing style, and particularly your playing style when you were involved with Kildare, Emmet. Obviously, like you adhered to your defensive duties. You predominantly play wing back, but you're a great man for a score, and in some big games you got some big scores and a couple of goals as well. Kind of how big was that attacking element or that attacking aspect to your game?
Look, it was a factor of it. Ultimately, I was a defender first, and that was my main role, I suppose. But I suppose the way we played over the course of those years, and the way the game has gone, ultimately, it's evolved a little bit since. I suppose realistically now, the way teams are built and their makeup is that effectively they're middle distance runners, and there's not as much contact in around the middle third now. But I suppose when we were kind of in the height of it, between 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, you're just maybe physically a little bit bigger. But the way we ultimately played was the wing backs and wing forwards were interchangeable all the time. So if I went forward, say a Pádraig O'Neill or Lepper or whoever it was would cover me, next play they'd attack, I'd come back to wing back then. So it just allowed us to break forward at pace, and we were really fit at the time as well. So ultimately what Kieran was looking for was just in around your middle third, your middle eight players, was for lads to empty the tank for 60 minutes, and when you were spent, hand up and someone came on and finished the job. So I was just lucky enough to get into a few positions and get a couple of scores, but you had that trust that if I did go forward, that you had the likes of Eamon or Pádraig O'Neill or whoever it was covering you, which made it a lot easier.
Can I ask now, before we move on to Louth, that top bin goal, top corner versus Monaghan 2014, is that do you look back at that as your best score in a Kildare jersey?
Just closed my eyes and whacked it. There was no science about it. It was just pick a spot and aim for the crossbar. Went over. If it went in, under, even better. So, but look, ultimately we lost that day, so it was disappointing enough now. But we didn't have a bad team at that period of time as well under Jason Ryan. But look, just whacked it as hard as I could.
You were named centre back in the GPA team of the season. I think it was 2010. Is that a real honour for you? It's not often that too many Kildare players get into that team.
Look, it's great. I suppose you're not really setting out for individual honours at the start. You're not the template answer, but it's the truth. I suppose you're looking to win Leinsters and you're looking to win All Irelands, and for the team to develop. So look, personally, it was nice. For the family, it was nice. For the club, it was nice as well. So, and Johnny, I think was wing forward on the team as well. So, look, it's nice. Yeah, it's a nice token personally to get. So something you look back on fondly. Yeah.
We're just going to move on a little bit now to the upcoming Leinster Championship. And obviously today Louth had a big win against Carlow. So it's confirmed that 4 p.m. next Sunday in Tullamore, Kildare will meet Louth in the quarter-final. We'll go in as favourites, Emmet, but definitely Louth. I think it's a Louth team that are on the rise. Like they have the likes of Mickey Hart there and a couple of other players that are playing phenomenal football. How wary do you think this current Kildare team of Glen Ryan should be of Louth coming into that game next Sunday?
I suppose irrelevant of the opposition, they'll be wary of whoever they're playing. But they have to look after themselves first. They're playing a good brand of football at the minute. I suppose from an attitude and a hard work point of view, it's really positive at the minute. They're scoring highly and they're scoring fairly heavily as well. Couple of little issues defensively, and all that is kind of fine tuning. So if they look after themselves and they focus on what they can bring to the table and take Louth's key men out of the game, I think they'll be okay. But it's obviously be a huge battle. When you said like Louth are after getting promoted from Division 3, they have some really, really good footballers there at the minute. But so do Kildare. There's some really good defenders, and then you have the likes of Dara Corwin, Jimmy Hyland, Dan Pillane, Ben McCormick is playing really good football at the minute at 11. He's a real link man. So, and then the likes of James Murray, a couple of others there that are playing really well defensively. Mick O'Grady and Ryan Houlihan and Shay Ryan, the makings of a really good full back line. So, Louth are very good. To be fair to them, they're good. But I think Kildare, if they perform to their ability, they should be okay.
And even just to touch on, I suppose you were saying there was a couple of key men for Louth. I think definitely the key man would be Sam Mulroy. I even see today he scored 2-5 against Carlow. Is there anyone you identify in that kind of Kildare backline who you reckon could do a good command marking job on Sam?
Mick O'Grady obviously would kind of match up with him well. I suppose he seems to be their kind of designated marker for the most dangerous inside man. He did very well on David Clifford against Kerry in the league, and generally gets the most dangerous forward. Like Miko he's well built, fast, strong, really, really tenacious, really aggressive, really good tackler. Would punish you when he goes forward, and he does go forward. So he'll match up well with him. And to be fair, and this isn't anything derogatory towards any divisions or anything like that, Sam Mulroy has not come up against Mick O'Grady yet. Mick is a dog. He's a really, really good defender. He's an excellent defender and takes pride in his defending. So I think he will score effectively. And Mick O'Grady is just there to try and just keep that score count down. But if they nullify him, I think Conor, he scored 2-5 today, but I think 2 goals of that came in the last 10 minutes when the game was effectively over. One of them was a penalty. They scored 5-10, which is only 15 scores. I think defensively Kildare are a lot better, obviously, than Carlow. If they were, I suppose, having any ambitions of going, to a Leinster final, this is Louth. I mean, like, you'd want to be scoring more than 10 points. So I think defensively Kildare will be able to kind of shut them down. If they don't concede any goals, I think they'll be okay. And then obviously the way Louth play is Tyrone-esque as well. So they're just patient in their build up and pick channels and pick lines and get their shooters on the ball. I think they'll be okay. Effectively, first round of Leinster for Kildare, just to win by point, move on. That's it. Job done.
Yeah, I was saying to Kev before we came on that I agree with you there that only 15 points against or 15 scores against Carlow will definitely not be good enough, especially on a really nice day today. The conditions were perfect for football. That I didn't think it was great enough. I want to look ahead. We're running a bit out of time, but you mentioned early on in Hawkfield that you're watching the seniors go to the white line, and the under 20s are as well. You're a selector with the 20s under I think it's Brian Flanagan in charge. Some win midweek over Offaly, current All-Ireland champions, which sets up a Leinster final against Dublin next week. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the odds or what the match betting is like, but it's I presume Dublin are going to be slight favourites going into that one. Can you say much about what the mood's like in camp going into that one?
That's good. You're preparing for Leinster final. We were over there this morning just fine-tuning 1 or 2 things, bit of video analysis and walkthroughs of certain aspects of our game. You'd have to be happy to be preparing for a Leinster final on Thursday night. I suppose they're good young lads. They are very keen to learn. Really want to do well for Kildare, really want to do well for their clubs, really want to do well for each other. Have probably played at about 60% to date. We're just scraped over the line against Laois, I suppose, and have played for maybe 20 minutes against Offaly. So there's a load of areas where we feel like we can improve on. There's a load of areas where we feel we can get at Dublin. I'm sure there's a lot of areas where they feel they can get at us as well. But we feel that we have a really strong panel there at the minute. Our 5-6 guys that are coming in both games against Laois and Offaly have really made an impact for us, which is huge and which is really important. Because we've guys there that are just willing to work as hard as they can for the team and stick the hand up after 50 minutes and someone else comes in and finishes the job. So ultimately, you're looking for the guys to perform, and I think they're ready to do that. Really good young lads, and I hope that once they get over the white line on Thursday, that they can put in ultimately their biggest performance of the year. So we'll see how they go. So we're very proud of them at the minute. Like, they worked really hard since mid-October. I suppose a lot of them were underage last year when we lost to Westmeath in the first round, but we only realistically had about 7-8 weeks in terms of a time scale to lead into that, to prepare to that, and we're hit with a sucker punch the last 5 minutes, less 3 minutes. So to come back and bounce back again this year now is great to see for them. So fingers crossed now all goes well on Thursday.
Unfortunately, we could chat all day, but we're a bit tight for time. So best luck for in the under 20s final on Thursday, and thanks again for coming on, Emmet.
That's great. Cheers. Thanks, lads.
And Bolton could be through here. Emmet Bolton for Kildare. Oh, that's a blinding finish! An absolute rocket from the wing back.
All right, that was Emmet Bolton. Thanks for Emmet to stopping by and having a chat with us, and the very best of luck to him and the Kildare under 20 team in their Leinster final against Dublin this week. We're looking forward to the quarter final of the championship next week. Tullamore, 1 p.m. Sunday against Louth. You're going along, Kev?
I am, Brian. I'll be flying the white flag, not in surrender though. I'm hoping for a big win for Lillies on the day. So I'm heading down with a couple of lads. I don't think you're going to be here for it though. You're not going to make this one.
No, I'm on my holidays. I'm in New York next week. I'm actually going to the Katie Taylor fight in Madison Square Garden, so I won't be there. But I will be there for the semi-final against Westmeath. I can guarantee you that.
Very confident there, predicting the semi-final already.
Oh yeah, no, we're beating Louth, all right. I tell you, if we don't beat Louth, I'm quitting this and I'm not coming back. And you can mark my word, we have to beat Louth. Like, it was such a positive league campaign in Division 1. It has to be another Leinster final, and we'll run the Dubs close as well. But no, we beat Louth easy.
So you're telling me if we lose next weekend, I'm a lone rider. I'm doing this all on my own.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, you can ask someone else to join, but I certainly won't be here.
Fair enough.
All right. So thanks for listening in. Make sure to follow us on our social channels again, on Twitter at Lillies Livin Pod and on Instagram at Lillies Livin. Send us on any feedback you have. We were shocked, Kev, actually, that we found ourselves in the top 40 of the Irish podcast charts. I don't know what that it probably shows that the state of Irish podcasts isn't in the greatest shape at the moment, but we found ourselves there. Hopefully we can hit a top 30 next week. I don't know, but yeah, that's where we are. So thanks again for everyone for listening in and for your support, and we will chat to you next week.